A year of Overwatch has come and gone, and with that, a lot of different metas. Through tank meta, DPS meta, even meta where we had some really awkward far range McCree, it seems like every single hero in the game has been good at one point. Except for these three heroes. Now these guys haven't necessarily been bad, but they've always seemed to have been around in the middle. Not really meta, not really the best picks in the game, but just kind of there. And with that said, we're just going to be talking about the three heroes that, at least in my opinion, have never really been meta, and I hope that someday, maybe. I feel like Symetra has been the character that has had the highest chance of being meta for the longest time, and that's why she's at the bottom of this list. I feel like she's been so close to being a character that's going to be picked in a lot of situations, but just can't quite hit that mark. Now, of course, everybody knows Symetra is very good. First point on 2CP, lock it down, get a teleporter, and then going from there. But it's kind of hard to justify picking Symetra over other supports in the majority of other situations. She's essentially like a 50% defense hero, 50% support hero, and even if you get out a shield gen, which is very good for supporting your team, a lot of the times it would just be better to go someone like Mercy and heal 60 HP per second compared to just blocking 75 HP with his shield. I feel like overall with this character, she's just kind of in an awkward, very niche position where she does amazing at what she does, but she's not really good enough at generally the gameplay and the game flow in order to fit more situations and in order to be picked more often. I feel like the only way to fix this is to completely rehaul her kit, make her more supporty, give her more stuff that's similar to other heroes, make so that her shields help her teammates more and stuff like that. But I feel like that wouldn't really feel like Symetra. She'd feel like a completely different character, and I'm overall kind of happy where she is right now. While she might not be meta and might not ever really be meta, she's still pretty good at her job and still a nice character to main if you want to play her. Here we are again, back to Junkrat, and I know what you guys are going to say in the comments again, because this happens every single time. No man, you just don't know how to play him, right? And I'm sorry, that's not really how the meta works. Not every character can be great at all times, and especially Junkrat, who's so situational, has big problems often being meta and being a pick that people pick quite often. If you've been looking at Junkrat's play rate, it's been really quite low and competitive forever. We've never really seen him way too much, and we've never really seen much people other than main Junkrat mains picking him up, or people trying to get a nice first point stall, or just a nice stall where the map is very close together. And that's a nice thing about Junkrat. He's very good at maps that are close together. He's very good at, fighting people that like to deathball, and he's very good at what he's very good at, which is just dealing a lot of damage on the ground, pretty medium range when people are sticking close together. But at least so far, it seems like there's just too many counters that keep Junkrat down. People like D.Va can do pretty well versus you. People, of course, like Zarya do really, really well versus you. And then, of course, we have all the DPS, that being Widowmaker, Pharah, McCree, Soldier, that all can become big problems. They outrange you, they outdamage you at a decent amount, and they can just get a lot more consistent damage out. Now, I'm not saying that Junkrat could never be meta. He's just never been it so far. If there was a big change to him, or maybe if the stars just aligned just right, he could do it. He does really good against people that, again, group up, and he does pretty good against shields. So maybe if there's a really strong shield character that comes out that he can counter even more than Reinhardt, that could happen to put him up there. But as far as what has been so far, we just haven't really been seeing him. And while I would say I'd like to see him in the future, as I do still really like the character, it's just not really happened so far. Mei's the final pick, and I want to ask you guys, when was the last time you saw Mei on attack? When was the last time you saw Mei in general? Now, I know you have probably seen Mei mainly stalling on last point and switching to stall on last point and switching to defense on last point, but when was the last time you saw someone picking up Mei first point and trying to either defend or attack it? I'm going to say it's probably been quite a while, unless you're playing, of course, on Hanamura, because that map's a bit jank, but for the majority of maps, I feel like Mei's kind of in this situation where she's just kind of awkward, and a pick that you really just pick when you're at the end of your line life, when you're trying to stall for as much time as possible. That's really about it. Now, I guess you could say that she's always been a meta staller, but as far as someone that you pick up and that you play for a long amount of time and for the majority of the game, we've never really seen her as that. Now, in the much earlier seasons, I'm going to say she honestly wasn't really way too great at all. Her ultimate range honestly was just way too small, and she couldn't apply herself that well, but as the season got on and as she actually got some really nice ult range, I was thinking that she probably was going to be picked a lot more and become a very nice defensive pick. But again, I feel like she's just kind of hard to use and very situational to use. She feels kind of like Hanzo, where, she just can't always get all of her damage down. If people are dodging her crap, or if people are just hiding behind walls and playing well, it's kind of hard for you to actually get in there and get your own damage out. I don't really know exactly what they can change about this character. I feel like she's just been kind of stuck where she is as a overall mid-tier, pretty good pick that isn't the best, but isn't the worst, and I feel like she's going to stay that way unless they change something huge about her. And that's not always way too bad. I really like some characters that just do kind of stay there as good characters that aren't a must pick, that aren't also terrible. That you can just kind of play if you need to and just kind of fit in the nice situations that do fit her. And I feel like she's been a good staple mid-tier character to keep right there and to just play if you want to pull her out. And she's especially been really good to mains. We've seen actually quite a few of them getting all the way to top 500. So of course she still does work, but just not really the most popular character really ever. And there you go. Those are the characters that I'm going to say have never really been meta. Never really been must picks that you need every single game. And of course, again, that's okay. They've also never really been way too terrible though, so I want you guys to remember that. I'm not trying to hate on these characters. I feel like they've honestly been pretty decent, just never been must picks. So remember that. That's the main difference between being meta and not always being meta. Anyways, as always, these have been my own personal opinions and my own personal experiences, so if you have different ones, then that is completely fine. Mine are not the end-all, be-all experiences and opinions, so please do remember that. As always, with this said, leave in the comment section down below who you personally feel like has never really been a meta character. I'm gonna say a lot of people are probably going to say Hanzo, but who else do you think really hasn't been there? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you want to see any more. As always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.